Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. And it is Friday, which means it's time for another edition of Tech Briefs, where myself, Greg Nibbler, am joined by Ken Yeung from his remote location, undisclosed. We don't know where it is, but nonetheless, Ken is here. Ken, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Greg, nice to see you again wait, aren't you right next door in the other room?
Shh. Don't tell them about that. We can't have that known.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. We'll keep that to ourselves. All right. So Ken, let's talk about what's going on in the news. And certainly, over this last week, there's a lot that's happened. It's changing so quickly, but definitely connecting online is something that's a huge trend. And Zoom has had a huge last couple of weeks, going from, I believe it was 10 million daily users in December to 200 million reported daily users here currently, or at least as of a couple of days ago. I mean, huge growth, but with that has come a lot more scrutiny, and they've had several different people looking into security concerns and some issues that they've been having. Can you walk us through what some of those concerns were, what's been going on with them?
Yeah, there's been a whole litany of issues at play with Zoom. And for anyone that's not familiar with Zoom, I mean, it's a web conferencing service similar to BlueJeans and WebEx and those type of things. Primarily, it's used for businesses to have these virtual meetings for those that are working from home or remotely, or having can't be in a same physical location as everybody else in that party. But obviously, in this age of self-quarantine, self-isolation and coronavirus, we are all we can't be together. So that's how Zoom has really taken off. And it's what's interesting is that the company is taking it from a different perspective from typical enterprise software. Instead of going straight to the IT folks, they're starting from the ground up. They're starting with the workers themselves, as opposed to getting the necessary vetting and approval from those in IT. But of course, with that comes some issues as well, as what we're talking about today in terms of privacy and security. So with a lot of these companies that are now getting a lot more prominent in terms of usage, more scrutiny is going to befall them. And so with Zoom, researchers have found out that, look, the video calls are not as encrypted as what you thought they were going to be. There's also privacy in terms of they're sharing data with Facebook. They're using that data to figure out who you are on LinkedIn, and to tap into your LinkedIn profile. There was some issues with their Mac OS installer. And I think there's also this issue of like the FBI, an FBI field office in Boston has even issued a warning saying, look, your video calls could be infiltrated by hackers, right? So there's a lot of these Zoom is really much under the microscope right now. The CEO has issued basically a mea culpa this week and said, look, we're sorry. We're going to spend the next 3 months focusing on privacy and security. And to a certain degree, like, they didn't really anticipate this. I think there's this really caught them off guard. Although to a certain degree, if you're doing this type of stuff, you should be focusing on privacy and security.
Well, and I think that's a couple of things there too. Just with Zoom, I mean, one, he did say in his statement, he's like, we originally launched as an enterprise platform. We didn't realize how many consumers will be using it. We're adapting, but you're right. Every company should have security as part of their ethos, and definitely with the encryption thing, if you're not doing it, don't say that you're doing it. So yeah, it's interesting how they're responding, but they did say that they're going to be working on it. So we'll see where it all goes. I know we've got lots of articles at Digital Trends and Flipboard that people can take a look at, if you want to dig into it a little bit more and be aware of what some of the concerns are. So we have that going on with Zoom. Then we have, let's switch gears to something else, to some more entertainment side of things. As we are all working at home, we're connecting via Zoom and different platforms like that, but also people are gaming more, and Amazon is jumping into that fray as well with their, so they've got their cloud gaming platform. It's Project Tempo. Is one of the things that they have coming, and a sci-fi first-person shooter, Crucible. We've known about Crucible for a while, but now it sounds like it's going to be released probably in May is when it's going to be coming out. What do we know about their new push into this?
So, I mean, it's I think a lot. I don't think it should be surprising anyone that Amazon's moving into the space. I mean, they've been pretty popular in terms of streaming games. I mean, Twitch. Anyone's heard of Twitch? I mean, that's basically a good dominant platform right there. But now this time they're actually going to be the game makers. Jeff Bezos has created a studio called Relentless, And so the first game that's going to be coming out of it is Crucible. It's a sci-fi first-person shooter game. That one's going to be coming out, as you said, later this year, probably in May. Then they also have another one called New World, which is a massive multiplayer online game, which I'm kind of interested to see. Is it kind of like a World of Warcraft or a Civilization type of play? I'm kind of fascinated by that. Certainly with AWS, with Amazon Web Services, Amazon has a lot of potential in terms of holding up that infrastructure. And there's been a lot of comparison in terms of the platform that these games are going to be on. Project Tempo, codename Project Tempo, is comparable to Google Stadia and Project and what Microsoft has as well. So when you actually look at it, it's like the games are going to be pretty cool, and who has the biggest catalog or the better catalog of games, right? But then it's also who's going to have the better infrastructure. So you either deal with Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, or AWS, right? And which one's actually going to hold up? We all know that there's some issues in terms of streaming on Google Stadia, and which we covered previously on Tech Briefs. So will Amazon run into that same issue in terms of destroying the Amazon Fire the set top boxes or anything like that, or can it actually hold up and continue to power that? And, I think it's a good time for them to announce that. I wish they would probably have rolled it out now, especially as we're all kind of stuck at home and we can't get Nintendo Switches and play Animal Crossing with everybody else. So it's kind of kind of interesting to see if when that comes out, if we are still going to be in this work from home type of situation.
Yeah, and I think probably, there's a good chance we will be, but yeah, you're right. We don't know. Things change so quick. One thing with Amazon, though, with AWS, I feel like they're going to have a really good infrastructure to make that happen. They also have the rights to everything Lord of the Rings, and apparently they have a big Lord of the Rings game or massive online game in the works for this, so or multiplayer game. So it should be interesting what they can do because they certainly have the money to buy a lot of franchises. But if they make a really great Lord of the Rings game, I'm in. I mean, they'll get me in just by that. But that's something that Amazon, anyway, working on right now, so we'll see when that comes out. Okay, so going on to one other thing here, too. I know we need to get through these. Talking about entertainment, and certainly there's no athletics going on anymore because they're all shut down. They can't have those kinds of things happening. But a lot of different leagues and organizations are turning to eSports for that. And there's a tournament that's going to be going on today, an NBA 2K players-only tournament with 16 different NBA players, all ranked 1 through 16 based upon their rankings in the game, are going to be starting this tournament off. It starts today. It's airing live on ESPN, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So they're airing it on all of those. And they're going to have this tournament going on, which I hope they're going to have them mic'd up. But I think it's a unique way that we're seeing a lot of different sports leagues go into this and try to adapt and bring some kind of entertainment to it. And I, for one, I mean, I'm an NBA fan, so I want to see an NBA game. But if I can hear these guys talking smack to each other, I'm into this. I like this idea.
Of course. I mean, I think that's the whole thing, right? Is if we're playing against friends, of course, there's going to be a lot of trash talking, right? But you imagine like there's a lot more. There's certainly a lot more trash talking live at the games. But as people that are watching that aren't there in person, that don't have the courtside seats, like we don't hear those type of things. So they're not as mic'd up, right? So but now we'll be able to hear that. But it's less about the adrenaline rush.
In theory, too. I guess. Yeah.
True, but I mean, you're still going to hear like Kevin Durant talk, trash talking DeMarcus Cousins. They were on the same team previously, so it's kind of it's like that jovial trash talk, bragging rights type of thing, right? But you're right. NBA is they're going to be they're getting into esports, very similar to the NFL and other leagues that have kind of done that. The NFL did an esports type of tournament earlier this last month, and so this month now it's the NBA's turn. And so, right, I think like 16 players, each player gets 8 teams, and it's going to go on for a round of 8. Basically the first 2 rounds are single elimination, and then the semifinals and the finals are going to be best of 3 wins. So, and the winner actually, I mean, this is all for the players, is all for bragging rights. But ultimately, for the charity of the player's choice, the winner will get like $100,000 to give to that charity. So this is it's also for a good cause. It's to keep people, keep players kind of really entertain, but also to give people who are like, wondering, what am I supposed to do on the weekends? What am I supposed to do at night after work? I need to decompress
Right.
and, get away from, constantly worrying about what's going on in the world and work. I need to focus on, sports and, get that fixed. This is a good way to do that. And to kind of hopefully build a new offering once sports comes back and the NBA comes back. Will we have, you and I were talking about this yesterday. Will you have the players on the course, and then those that are sitting on the bench that don't get enough playing time? Will they just go out to the back and start playing esports? So you're now watching esports, that team play on esports on Twitch, but then also now seeing it actually happen live and seeing how they come, they battle it out.
It'll be interesting how it all shakes out after this, because I think, you have NASCAR that's doing it too. I think they're going to run the rest of their course, I believe, this year. It's all changing really quick, but NASCAR, F1 is doing it, and other sports leagues are all going to this too. And yeah, how it all shakes out, what the ramifications will be once we do return to normal. I think this is going to be a part of that ethos when it comes to sports, and I think even if it goes back to the completely normal, this is still going to be a part of it. But it'll be interesting to see. And I know we're done on time. And Ken, I want to say thank you. I want to remind everybody, if you're watching live, we have a podcast version of this. So hit subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Just look up Tech Briefs, and then we'll give you a little 10-minute-ish recaps of what the biggest news in tech is. But you can always follow up at Digital Trends and Flipboard. Ken, always good seeing you. I'll talk to you next week.
Likewise. Take care.